Hey there, welcome to another Tesla Motors Club podcast. My name is Lewis. And it seems everyone else is having technical difficulties.
I'm Doug.
Right. Mike's here.
All right. Hopefully we'll iron those out as the show goes.
There it is.
On today's episode, we have a very special guest, David, also known as the Cyber Hooligan, creator of the CyberRoadster, which is a really awesome project. So we'll jump into that. We're also going to cover some updates from Tesla on the Cybertruck and this newfangled XAI. What is it? What's Elon doing? Some new company. Anyway, all that and more. We'll start now on episode 46. Alrighty, we're back.
I think we're here.
We're here. All right. So hopefully,
Professional as always.
Super professional. 46 episodes in, hopefully, we know what we're doing. Anyway, so today's guest is awesome guy. We just need to get him on here and talk about his stuff because I think it's the coolest project ever. And anyway, so let's introduce David, also known as Cyber Hooligan. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
He's going to wonder what he just walked into.
Awesome. Awesome. So we can hear David. So technical difficulties are limited.
Okay.
So David, first, just maybe we should start with a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move into the project. So just tell us who you are.
My name is David Andreev. The cyber hooliganism started in Orangeville, California, in a very prominent neighborhood on my driveway. And it's in Greater Sacramento. And I don't know, the reason why I really got into Tesla was basically my first drive. Of driving an electric car. I was like, whoa, is this what it's all about? And I was hooked.
Yeah, I mean, that story resonates with most of us, I think. I think the majority of us, the first time you rode in a Tesla, you're just like, this is amazing. So then we had to get one.
For sure.
Many of us just kind of sit back and wait for Tesla to roll out their things. You seem to go one step further. I mean, you didn't want to wait. You wanted the Cybertruck so bad. You just like, I'm just going to build one.
So with the cyber, I called it the Cyber Prius. I actually gave it away about a few months ago on Instagram. And so what I did was I bought a Prius. It was a Prius C. And I said, I'm going to build something that looks like a Cybertruck. Actually, the idea was in the beginning, it was not supposed to look, be anything, like the Cybertruck. Specifically, what I want to do is make a hybrid off-road, vehicle, something really quiet. And kind of like shortly after I got it, I was like, wait a minute, if I'm doing this, let's make it look somewhat like the Cybertruck. And it's pretty easy to do because it's, it has straight lines. And that's where, how I started with that thing. And so what I did was I when I bought the Prius, I cut it in half. And that's where I messed up because you can't make it look like a Cybertruck. It's going to look like a pyramid driving down the street. It's going to look not so appealing, to the eye.
It looks kind of like a go-kart, doesn't it?
Yeah. From the front, obviously, Cybertruck, but the rest of it from the fender where the front door jamb is back is basically just an open air side by side.
I mean, that's really cool. So that was the first project. Had you done anything like this before you did this, or was this your first time?
Not to this extreme. I messed around with a lot of, salvage cars, rebuilt a bunch of cars, but nothing like the Cyber Prius. And then what eclipsed that by many times over was this CyberRoadster build. It's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work.
So how long did the Cyber Prius take? Like the first project, how long did you spend on that?
If you look at, everyday type work, I wouldn't say too long, probably like if you crunch it all in, probably three months, probably less than that. I didn't work on it every day. It was in my garage.
Sure.
I just, when I had some free time, just mess with it. About 3 months, I would say.
Okay. And the CyberRoadster is more ambitious, bigger project, looks really cool. You got a lot more stuff going on there. How long when did you start that project, I should say?
The CyberRoadster work coming on almost a year. So what I did was, it was first, I got it from Copart auction. It was crashed. My plan was I had to basically get it, fix it, register it.
Wait, so what is the donor? The donor is a Plaid? The donor is a Model S Plaid?
It's a Performance Model 3, 2018.
Okay. So it starts off a little bit smaller.
If I did it with a Plaid, that'd be cool. But at the time when I got it, that's when the prices of Teslas were ridiculous. It would be pricey build.
Yeah. So so you took a Model 3 Performance and basically stripped it down. Like what walk us a little bit through the process here. Like how do you approach this type of project? Because I don't know.
Okay,
if I wanted to do my own, how would I get started?
So let me. So it initially was a long range Model 3, a dual motor Model 3, and specifically the 2018. They have the Performance rear motor is the same as the Performance. The rear motor needs to be the same, so you can flip the software and make it a legit Performance. That's why I went with the 2018. And so how do you start, right? When I registered it, and I remember I had it was one of the first days when I started pulling everything out of the car, the interior, and my brother came over, and he's like, he thought I was joking when I told him the idea of what I'm about to do. He came over, he's walking around the car, he's like, "You're really serious about this, right?" And he comes up to me really close, and he's looking in my eyes, like really deep in my eyes, and he's like, "Did you start smoking crack?" And he's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "No, I want to do this. I really want to do this." Sometimes not gonna lie, this project did get overwhelming at some points, because it's a lot. It's a lot for one person to do, and I am doing everything by myself.
Oh wow!
So you said you bought this from Copart?
Yeah, Copart auction.
Yeah.
So I bought the car.
Explain to our listeners what Copart is. I know what it is, but I'm not sure everybody else does.
Copart, COPART.com and IAAI.com is the two biggest auctions in America. They're everywhere in every state
for salvage cars.
For salvage cars, yeah. When when a car gets totaled, that's basically where your car goes, to these auctions. And at the peak of the Tesla pricing, which was last year, Teslas were going for a lot. And then when the drop off happened, everybody just completely turned away from Tesla in the salvage community. And if you've seen the prices, what Teslas were going for in the I want to say in the beginning of this year,
yeah,
you'd be shocked.
I did. I was actually I was thinking about doing a Model 3 project, so I was watching the prices pretty closely. Now, did you have a chance to inspect this ahead of time, or did you kind of buy it off the pictures and have it drop shipped to you?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to see it because it was kind of like borderline scary. to be honest. And it specifically needed to be an all-wheel drive, and in this case, the 2018 with the specific motor in the back. It was in Martinez, Copart Martinez, which is in, I'd say, kind of the Bay Area. And yeah, I drove over there. What Copart allows you to do is, you can inspect the car 2 days before the auction date, and you walk in there and you got about 10 minutes to inspect it. Main thing I wanted to check on this car is if the battery was not damaged. The battery has the tub has a kink on it, but it wasn't
so
bad.
So I'll ask this: when you inspected, so a lot of times the Copart cars are listed as run, start, run, drive, or unoperable. Was yours an unoperable, or did it say it would run, start?
Oh, it was the worst listing,
worst rating,
worst one. Yeah, it didn't turn on. It didn't run, obviously, because with Tesla.
Does it have the key?
I think it did have the key, but nothing would turn on. Nothing would turn on.
So for our viewers and listeners, one of the things you really want to be careful about is they'll sell these cars without the key. They're lost. They don't know where the keys are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're even considering this, you want to do something like David did, find one with a key. But you want to do a physical inspection, because I have seen it where people will buy the car, a Tesla. It comes with what looks to be the battery, but all the cells are gone.
Yep.
Someone has gone in and taken all the cells out, or they've stripped off key parts and they've just put the fenders back on. So this is really a buyer beware situation. So David was quite smart in going there to physically touch, hit it, open the doors, and make sure everything was at least more or less there.
Now, let me add a really good thing. What you just said, buyer beware. Main thing is who's selling the car. Is it insurance? If it's insurance, you're cutting your the odds of being screwed over.
Yep.
And if it's not insurance, that's
it
really
might be
something to be aware of. And to top it off, where to avoid completely: LA and New York. Those are the biggest scammers. I'm telling you. I know anybody who hears me about any kind of insurance, auctions, they know exactly what I'm talking about, because LA and New York, they do some really, really big scams over there. And it's as is. You can't really, as soon as you pull the car out from their yard, it's your car.
You own it. You own it. And I don't know, people have to remember when you go to get the car, they bring it out on a forklift, generally speaking. And so you're kind of at the mercy of whoever's driving the forklift not to do something stupid, with the forklift, like, push it through something that's important or whatever. Again, buyer beware, be cautious.
Yeah. And definitely those, forklift guys many times happen where, they'll stick their forks, under the car, and they'll just mess up your lower control arms. They'll do a lot of damage.
Just run it through, pick it up, and they're off.
And they don't care. They're throwing those cars, a couple hundred cars around every day. So
you got your car, you inspected it, you bought it, you won the bidding process. Did you bring it home yourself on a trailer, or did you have them ship it to you?
I brought it home myself, and I believe I did start this build with this video, how I was there to pick it up. They put it on the trailer, and there was, right when I brought it home, I started to get kind of scared, because once I started pulling things off, I was like, oh crap, this is a little more than I thought it was. But there was it's kind of like a bag of mixed goodies, right? When I turned the car on, I finally got to turn the car on. This car has FSD. Somebody paid for it.
Wow.
So that's definitely something I'm working around to work on this car. Let's see how long Tesla will keep it on for. I don't know. Can they turn it off?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, they can.
So you're
I mean,
able to,
I'm gonna try to obviously have this car, have it. If they turn it off,
No.
whatever.
Did
I'm
so?
prepared.
Did you have to go into the rear pylon and replace the pyro fuse for the car?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had to drop the battery. I had to take out the front motor. I had to just to get the car registered. It was like a completely different build, basically. Drop the battery, drop the motor, gut the dashboard completely because that whole quarter of the car had to get cut out. It was we talked about it with the frame guys, and they're like, you might be able to get away with it with what I'm doing to this build, and
Right.
I'm like, I'd rather not. Let's do it. Let's do it right.
so are you able to supercharge it?
Yeah. I haven't tried yet. I haven't tried yet, but I'm pretty sure when I go to try it, it's going to be on. It is on my app. The car is on my app.
Because that's one of the things that Tesla is keen to disable on salvage vehicles. Because they don't know the condition of the batteries. Is the thing going to blow up if it's receiving?
If they seen what this battery was, I actually opened the battery, just like rip that top off like a can of sardines. They would want to turn it off. But let me say this. Maybe it's something that it's too much to say, but there's ways to disable things in these cars.
Yes, there are. That's the beauty of computers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you could also always, bring it to an EA charger, right? If it catches fire, you could easily blame EA.
Blame them. They had a Rivian blow up on them, right?
Yeah, they're known to have issues.
And Volkswagen, they've had a couple of IDEs go off too. So,
oh man,
yeah, this thing, I'm not worried about any of the high voltage. The battery, the tub was just slightly, the thick part, the thick corner part, just slightly bent, barely, and that's why I opened up the battery just to make sure, there was no leaking on the inside, nothing like that. We put it back together, sealed it up.
So
go ahead.
So that had to have been a very interesting day dropping the battery pack out of that car, because that weighs about 3,000 pounds or so.
The battery, the battery is roughly 1,100 pounds.
Is it? It's lighter than I thought then.
Yeah. It's because the whole car, I weighed the car in the beginning of the build. The only thing that was missing was the windshield, and the car came
pounds?
in. Actually, the car, I got to go back and make sure. I believe it was 4,050 pounds. That's what I got the car in at. That's not that bad. I mean, it is heavy for, like, look at any other cars. 4,000 pounds, that's a heavy car, right? Like, especially for a sports car, that sounds like a whale.
My Audi was 45, so I mean, you're right on point for a sports car, actually.
Yeah. Like when you're taking these cars out, like on windy roads, you tend to feel it.
Oh yeah.
So let's. I just want to be a little more descriptive for our audio listeners. So we have your Instagram up. Is this this black car? Is that the black Model 3? Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the.
No, that's the.
I just realized
that's the refresh.
That you have some spy shots on there. Okay, that was the reset. So is it this white one, or what was the Model 3 did you start with? Do you have a picture of that in here somewhere?
It's you gotta go way down. Yeah,
way. Okay, this is the Prius. Is it after the Prius stuff?
Yeah, it's after the Prius.
So is it this guy?
Right here.
There we go.
Oh, it looks terrible.
Oh, this is the good side.
So for the viewers or the listeners, we take a Model 3, look at the left-hand side, put a tire in the front, and cave in the entire right side.
It looks smashed. It looked like Hulk picked it up and slammed it down. That's what it looks like.
It does. It looks like a movie prop for the Incredible Hulk.
Wow.
Oh yeah, look at this. Look how it was hit on this side.
Oh my
So
goodness.
your fender was pushed all the way up to the pillar there, it looks like.
Up to the firewall, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Well, that's amazing that
And the
battery
VIN number
and-
was gone right here as well.
Oh, you're right.
Wow.
I had to get a new VIN number.
So amazing. The
No.
battery and all that stuff is intact, and the
That's
motors were in good shape. All the motive electrical stuff was.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the even the front motor, I was thinking, there's going to be some kind of mounting point that's going to be cracked, because that does happen. And the way this thing was hit, nothing, none of that stuff was broken, cracked, anything like that. The rack and pinion was cracked though.
So what possessed you? Oh, I see a little road rash, rim rash on that rim. Rim's got like a 2-inch divot in it. That he's hitting
I
with
fixed
a
it
hammer.
right here.
just bang it in. Oh, it cracked. Oh well, whatever.
So what possessed you to get this particular Tesla? Out of all the Teslas you could pick from, what made this one so appealing?
Well, specifically, it came down at the moment. It did come down to cost.
Was it pure price?
Not only like specifically, it had to be a all-wheel drive, and Model 3.
Long
They are
range.
fast cars. Once you make it, once it's the performance, they're fast cars. They're really fast.
They
cars.
are.
And I was like, you know what, this is going to be something I can make a exotic looking car from, and it'll back it up with the power.
Wow.
The fact that you're driving it minus the rubber on the rim, that's impressive. That sounds like something Lewis would do.
So, but
Whoa.
from inception, though, you wanted it to look like a Cybertruck. Then that was the goal, or just like that was just an inspiration, and you thought.
Okay, for example, the Cybertruck obviously has very straight lines. If you look at it up close, I never personally seen it, in person.
Mhm.
To do this Model 3 build, I'm not sure it would work. I think it would look goofy, super goofy to do this. So what I did was basically kind of like the DNA of half the Cybertruck and half still, the Tesla, original Teslas, and kind of morph that into one. For example, the Cybertruck, LED strip in the front. That's something that I made completely from scratch. I actually haven't posted up how I made that yet. There's actually a lot of footage that is still to come on this build.
I can believe it. Now, how are you handling the sensors for the front and back? Are you keeping them, or are you kind of
I'm definitely going to
jump
keep them
out?
Right. I'm going to keep them. I'm going to have a little bit of a how should I say? It's a tough spot in the back, because if you go up to the rear, how I'm doing the rear wheels are going to be exposed. And so the corner sensors, the all the way to the left and right, that's something that I'm going to have to kind of figure out, what am I going to do with this?
It looks so awesome, man. The rear of it reminds me of like the newer Batman movies with his ridiculous, like it looks it looks so cool, like an off-road.
This video right here, what you're looking at, that's super, super rough. This is the fiberglass body filler. The way it looks now is, the lines are kind of more cleaned up now.
So for people that can't see the video right now, he's got a short little clip plane. Starts with a standard Model 3, looking from the left-hand side where the charge port is, pans around the back. And as he pans, he cuts to another clip of the tail of the car as it sits now, with the fiber, or at least the fiberglass in place, with some very angular lines. I mean, the whole back of the car is at like what would you say that is, about a 70-degree cut you've got there on that back fender?
Are you talking about the
right above the tire? So you've like chopped off the back.
Yeah,
it's not vertical, but it's kicked out just a slight bit.
The fender itself, yeah, it's the width of this car is slightly wider than the Model S. So you can
That's
imagine
amazing.
it's super wide, and the roof line is actually right at 46 inches, and that's actually lower than the Lamborghini Huracan.
Wow.
And
And
the
that
Lamborghini
back
Huracan,
glass is custom, right? You mentioned some
yeah,
of your
there's going to
tweaking.
be
You had to redo the back glass.
yes, there's going to be two pieces on there, and the rear where the flat part goes, there's going to
Right.
be these two batteries, obviously fake, that are going to light up Tesla on them under the glass. You know, like for example, exotic cars, they have a motor back there. Back
They
there, I'm
do.
going to have
They do.
batteries.
So let me ask about your, I guess a bit about your process and your materials. I mean, like I've never done a project like this, but if I were to do a project like this, I would probably do a bunch of CAD. I do it in the computer first, and then try to figure out what my parts I need, and then I'd have them done, and I'd go to some place to CNC, cut pieces for me. Looks to me that your process, and actually looking at some of your videos, you're like, I like this. You cut something out of cardboard and sort of test it out to see what it looks like, and then you build it out of with like sheet metal and like what are your materials and what's your process?
So my process, like for example, doing this on, let's say, computer, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. We've seen cars on, for example, on the screen, on a video, and then when we go to see it in person, it makes you feel different. The car seems different, right? And the reason for that is, for example, the width of the car can be deceiving on video, and the height of the car. So there was some pictures that I drew up on the screen, on paper. I kind of knew where I was headed, but to really know what it is you need to do, for example, on this corner, on that corner, it needs to be done in person. It absolutely needs to be done in person. The only thing that I would change on this build is avoid using the sheet metal. That's something
really?
that I would, on the next one that I would do, I would use the clay and make a mirror piece.
That makes sense.
Knowing how much body filler that went into this, and it's still not done, I would avoid doing the sheet metal for sure.
I see. So underneath, we're looking at a phase where you have the Bondo. In earlier videos I saw, it's basically like flat metal pieces. And so you're saying you just filled that void to get to curve. You fill that void.
No, I would curve. I would curve the sheet metal for sure.
Okay.
I mean, just to minimize, obviously, the amount of body filler, because there's only so much you can do without having, trouble down the line. The metal that I used it's AKDQ aluminum killed steel, and it's 19 gauge. It's specifically for automotive paneling. It still can rust, but it's kind of like it was treated with an aluminum process. Still can rust, and it's like I said, specifically for automotive. And the cool thing is you can shape that metal just with your hands. It's really easy to bend it. It's really it's pretty flexible. Once it's put into place, once you weld all the seams and everything, it's surprisingly super strong, really strong stuff.
Now, I got to ask, in a typical hot rod shop that I've been in, and carriage building shops, the guys live on the English rolling machine. You'll see them, rolling the sheet metal back and forth, getting the curves and smoothing out the panels and all the body. Are you using anything like that? Or are you using hand tools? I mean,
the only thing that I've used is basically a hammer,
a dolly,
and my hands.
I feel like David
that's a
is
hard
one
way
of those,
to do it,
like,
dude.
he's like one of those Renaissance like artisans that's like, oh yeah, you could do this like with a machine, but he's sitting there with a hammer,
Right,
just like,
tapping it out.
Look how perfect it is.
You could do it. I'm telling you, it's the possibilities are endless if you just really want to do it. The car's not done yet. It's close. It's getting really close.
So tell us, where you are in the project now. How much more time do you need? What else needs to happen before you can just like drive this thing and say, okay, it's done, and it's
press the hell.
So right now, I think I put in 11 or 12 days of body filler. So what I did first was all the sheet metal was covered. I first primered all the sheet metal. Inside and out with epoxy primer just to seal it. Gave that about a week, came back, scuffed it up really good with about, I think, 60 grit. That's when I started the body filler. It's kitty hair, specifically Evercoat kitty hair. It's long strand. It's not the easiest stuff to work with, but it's recommended. For example, if you don't want your body filler to crack, this is what you start off with. So from going, the front door, all the way around to the other door, this whole rear end, it was almost 3 gallons. Now, all that's not staying on the car. All that's not staying on the car. It was, I pretty much started doing it when it started getting hot. And you only have a certain amount of time to work with. You put it on, and there's a lot that came off, probably more than half came off, to kind of smooth it. And then on top of that went the short strand body filler and it's a lot easier to work with. You smooth everything out. A lot comes off. And then after that goes the Evercoat Rage Extreme body filler. Super, super easy to work with, super easy to sand. Doing this specifically, what I'm doing with pretty much making the car from body filler, if I had, some cheap body filler, let's say the Bondo from Walmart, the red stuff, you would lose your mind. So definitely I was like, I'm not gonna cut corners on this part. Got the expensive stuff, got the good stuff. It sands really easy, sands like a dream.
Well, how thick are these layers? That you had the long hair, short hair, and then your that outer layer. How
I want to say overall, there's a lot of spots where I'm pretty much hitting metal, going back to metal. But the majority of it is the base of it's kitty hair. It's not that.
Just thickest to a centimeter or less, or what?
The thickest. Probably 5 inches.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. The thickest, I want to say probably a 1/4 inch, to be honest. That's very I want to say, like, for example, where 2 angles meet, like almost at a 45. You know what I mean? I really want to minimize the amount of body filler I put on this, because I calculated how much body filler is going to stay on this car is probably going to add about close to 30 pounds. Wow. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Wow. Man.
So, as someone that used to do body and paint, you mad props, dude. Mad props.
You did used to do it?
I used to do it.
You want to come help me?
If I had known about it, I'd been all in. I saw you having trouble trying to find someone to help you with it, and I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I had I think it was like three people came into the shop, and one was kind of like on a phone. And my brother's actually, he used to do a lot of body work as well. And the 3 dudes that came into the shop, they almost had no words for this. They're like, you're crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and
we were told the same a few times, but
my brother came into the shop. The one it's my older brother from the beginning of the podcast. He came in, same thing. He's like holding his chest, and he's kind of breathing heavy. And he's all, I need to walk out. I'm getting irregular heartbeats looking at this. It's just, basically the amount of work. It's a lot. It's
is.
insane.
I assume you have
Absolutely.
like a regular day job or something, right? I
I
mean,
do. I do. It's I'm a general contractor myself.
so this is your your evening weekend project. So
It's
One
a
hell
side
of a
project.
passion project. Jesus.
I mean,
It is. It is.
it's awesome. If I had a place to do something like that, I would be really excited to
You
have
don't
that.
have a driveway you can start on?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't. I'm trying
And
to.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's actually another project that I'm working on in the same shop that's has I'm not going to say much, has Tesla components. I'm working on that project right now, and I didn't show anybody. Only a couple of people know of it, and I'm building it to sell, basically produce mass market.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Wow.
Oh, a little bit of a
I'm not
teaser
gonna.
there.
I
Tesla-
won't show it until
Tesla
basically
go-kart.
near completion.
Uh-huh. All right, cool. Be sneaky about it. So, how much time you think you have left on the Cyber Roadster then?
With my day job,
Right.
and going back and forth, they're just a bodywork wise, and obviously I messed up on timelines before. I
You're
want
a
to
good
say
company with Elon.
there's probably close to 3 more weeks of body filler work on this
That's
car.
actually not bad.
And that's I put in about 11-12 days so far. And like I said, using the right stuff, using like for example the Evercoat, cuts a lot of time, for sure cuts
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of time. And I'm thinking roughly 3 weeks just the body filler. So after the body filler, the car has to be sprayed with it's a super high build primer, and then let the car bake, basically put it in the sun. And some spots are gonna settle, some spots are gonna look a little different, and then
Yep.
you have to basically go back and smooth that out, right? So I'm thinking just messing with the body filler, primer, and stuff like that. I'd say 5-6 weeks, and then I can talk to somebody that can either paint it or wrap it. I'm right now kind of leaning towards a wrap. Color wise, I haven't decided yet. I'm guessing something metallic, something along the lines of Cybertruck. It's a maybe.
So you're not gonna try to give it or maybe you will try to give it a kind of a stainless steel look, even with a wrap. I mean, you can achieve that. They do have.
You
sort of
can,
nice
yeah.
metallic
I actually looked at those.
stuff.
You can, and I think giving it a stainless steel look, like a brushed metal look, will work for this car. Because if you see this thing in person, like drive it out of the shop, see this thing in person, it looks like a UFO. The width of this car and the height of it and the length of it, it's gonna be definitely, it doesn't matter the color you do. When you see this from far away, you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? 100%. It definitely has that aspect, like it's super low, super wide.
Yeah.
Do you plan on showing this? Are you going to go to car shows with this? Or are you planning on showing
Yeah,
it
for
off
sure.
now?
I actually wanted to go. I was planning on going to the Tesla takeover in San Luis Obispo. And I can't make it because of, going back and forth, my day job, 2 projects. I would love to make it, but I just can't. I don't want to show it until it's done. I don't want to bring it to a car meet with, body filler.
So can you get it ready before the first Cybertruck deliveries? That's the question.
That would be cool.
You could probably bring it. Actually, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. Tesla gets kind of weird with modified vehicles, but could you get it? Could you bring it to the whatever delivery event they do for the Cybertruck?
Where would that be? It would be in Texas.
That would probably be in Texas.
Yeah.
Be down by me.
But that would be cool.
So you said they don't feel right about modified vehicles?
I mean, I just think about like Simone Gertz, who
For a little pickup truck.
she makes the shitty robots. She took a Model 3 and sort of chopped it and made a pickup truck with it. And she was at, I forget what event it was, but it was in LA, some Tesla event. I think it might have actually been the Cybertruck event. That's what it was, the unveiling event back in 2019. And yeah, they said she could be there, and then they got nervous when she got there and made her move it and didn't want it nearby so people wouldn't think it was some shoddy thing that Tesla was selling or whatever. So
I mean, was it now? Was it specifically? Did it look bad? Or
no,
I don't
it's
think
basically a red
It looks
Model
like a
3
Ranchero
with
the back cut,
like an El Camino kind of thing, where they just
Yeah.
take the back
Okay.
out and it has a bed.
it's pretty sweet actually.
But they were kind of nervous about it. I mean, Tesla does that. There's a time they used to offer a brown Model S, for example, and which I have to be driving around in a brown Model S right now. But like even on our website, they kind of wanted us to, not have pictures of that anymore because they didn't want to be bothered by people asking for
Really?
brown when they, when they drop the colors down to whatever 5 or however many they offer now. Because if you're like, hey, I want this, so we don't sell that. So and people are clamoring for their Roadsters, right? Where's the new Tesla Roadster that's was unveiled in 2017, I think. So
I bought my car. Roadster's never happening.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
I'll tell you this much: if I do finish it, when I do finish it, and let's say there's this event in Texas, I just might.
You need to go.
You
You
can
need
crash
to.
at my house. I live in Austin.
Oh,
we can go to the event.
I
Even
had
if
Pull
they
up
don't
on
let you
on the CyberRoadster.
I
even
had
if they don't let
visions
you in,
of-
just drive around with it.
Oh, you gotta look. Think big, guys. Think big. Show up in
Uh-huh.
Texas at the event. You got Simone's, pickup truck. You got his CyberRoadster, and you got Rich's iced tea, and just line them up out in front.
We're gonna steal the show.
That'll go
man.
over well. You gotta
Well,
understand,
man,
David. I'm
that'd
a
be
little bit
awesome.
of a rabble rouser here. So
Yeah, Mike's a troublemaker. but no, for sure. If you do come down, let me know. Because I'm in Austin. I'd love to hang out and check it out in person. That'd be a sweet car.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be showing this car around for sure.
Right on.
And I did talk about on my Instagram that I possibly might give this car away. The closer I get to completion, the more I lean away from that, to be honest.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
Come
like,
on, man.
How
So much
much-
work? You want to give that away?
How much
Too much work.
Yeah.
Also, you have to consider the liability aspect. I
Yeah,
saw your
yeah, for
video
sure.
somewhere of I saw whatever your airbag blowing up next to you, right? I mean, it's that's not going to be crash tested, so because it's a one-off.
no, it's already been crash tested.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and it failed that test. Or
Can I
survived.
can I reveal something about that video with the
Yeah.
airbag?
Sure.
Oh, that was a setup. What?
Oh, we set that up, of course.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Okay, picture this: the car. In order to blow airbags, you need to be driving. You need to be in the driver's seat, right?
Mhm.
The system. That's when the system is
It
on.
knows. Yeah.
And when you have one sensor disconnected, that means the system's off, right?
Mhm.
So, did you see the car? How much stuff was missing?
Yeah.
The system was off. so those airbags are actually from the Prius. Those were the curtain airbags from
Oh,
that
wow.
Prius.
I see.
So what I
Nice.
did was it was just we were just sitting there, me and my buddy, and we're like, hey, let's blow these up. And let's make a video of it.
How many beers was this?
I think no beers actually.
Oh, sounds like
so
a hold my beer moment. Yeah.
So what I did was I just hung up these airbags, and the mounting points were completely different, because it's from a Prius, and I wired it up to a 12-volt battery, and with a switch in my hand. If you see one of my hands were on the bottom, you can't see. I was holding the switch, and then the crazy thing is the timing. How we got the timing so good, because if you look at the video, as soon as he taps that bumper, it was pretty much perfect. We couldn't have got it better. And I pushed the button and I was ready for it. If you kind of look at some of the videos, I was going like this because I knew it was going to happen. It was loud. It was like a shotgun blast going off on both sides of your head. It was super loud.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, the dirty secrets come out.
Yeah.
I mean, great video either way. So kudos,
Awesome.
kudos.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I honestly, and to be fair, like being tensed up, that's normal. You'd be tensed up even if you weren't controlling when it fired, right? You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There
so,
it is.
right-
Boom.
There is the clip. Oh man. So speaking of CyberRoadster and the Cybertruck influence, so the Cybertruck, I assume you've ordered one of those. Are you on the wait list? The Cybertruck?
I ordered the Cybertruck about 5 minutes after they opened the reservations, right?
Okay.
And we were watching the event live. I remember it was in November of 19, right? Something like that. And I was laying in bed at the time. It was in the evening. And it was me, my wife, and my son. Before the truck came out, I told my son, I was like, hey, bring my wallet, to get the card to do the reservation. And I'm sitting there with my wallet in my hand. And that's when the Cybertruck drove out live. And I was like, I look at my wife and we're like, is this a joke? What the hell is this? It was, that's the impression. I think a lot of people got that impression. Like, I wasn't sure what this was. Is this like for real?
Was it the dancing guy in the suit? Tesla's known to make jokes in their reviews.
So we were sitting there. It was weird. I remember we were sitting there really quiet. Like my wife kind of looks at me and I look at her and we're really quiet about it. And I was like, what? I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to buy it. And the weird thing is, I think it grew on a lot of people like crazy. Probably not Mike.
It did not grow on me.
No,
Mike loves it.
It is yet to grow on me.
But that whole event was pretty weird, right? I mean, just watching it, it rolls out. I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, what? It looks like a low polygon count video game, and and they try to play up the whole Blade Runner thing, and then the whole like, and it's bulletproof, right, for this urban combat vehicle, and he throws a steel ball at the window and it breaks, and then try the back window, that one breaks too, and just the look on Elon's face when that happened.
Do you guys not? Right away, honestly, I was like, that had to be set up. That was set up for publicity. Do you remember how much publicity happened after that event?
It could have been smart, but the look on his face, I don't think he looked. Elon is a really poor in general sort of public speaker, and so he's kind of nervous, and the level of nervousness that went up after that happened, as we're looking at his face, like, it would have been genius to make it, to do it on purpose, but I think it just happened.
Really?
And
I think it happened. It was good timing for sure.
I agree that they probably benefited from it, and it basically,
sure.
But it was the take home message of the thing, as opposed to this being cool. So the take home message was like, here's something to work on, which is fine. It was just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me, what was most amazing about that whole thing was they're offering this huge this vehicle, right? And then they said the base price was under 40K. And that to me was my take on. I was like, wow. But they've kind of not said much about pricing recently, so you're sort of wondering what they're actually delivering. What trim level did you reserve?
Well, in the beginning, it was the single, the dual, and the tri.
Mm-hmm.
I went with the top tri motor, and from what it looks like, when we're going to be, the customers are going to hear from it, like for example, your Cybertruck is nearing completion, we get to choose then, you know what I mean? So if you did get the single motor, dual motor, it doesn't matter what it is, you'll have an option to actually choose a different one. That's from my understanding, like for example, because they're talking about the quad coming out first, then who got nobody had the option to choose a quad motor. So that's just what I think, my take on that. It could be the ones that pick the tri-motor get to choose the quad motor. I don't know. But it's definitely not going to sell for 39.9. You know what I mean?
You want to take a guess? What your best guess is for the sale? We've all done our predictions, so
I think the quad is going to be somewhere roughly close to the Plaid S.
Yeah,
that's for
that's
sure.
about what we were guessing.
And then the dual, which is pretty much, I think, going to be the most sold one. I think it's still going to be under the F-150 Lightning. Somewhere
you
around.
Think the dual will be the most sold, not the single.
I think so.
500-mile battery pack, or at least that's the rumor.
Is that what they're saying? The single is going to be with the 500?
That's what I just read today. That the single will have the 500-mile pack on it.
They're selling it on their site. If you go on their site and you go to pre-order, like it says 500 miles, but obviously the rumor mill is saying that that's not.
Yeah. Well, look, if it's 500 miles with a single motor, you know, you got the single motor, it brings down the cost, but then you got the 500 mile, you're picking up the cost, right? Looking at the single motor, that's like the rear wheel drive Model 3. I don't know. I'd be surprised if it was 500 miles with a single motor, to be honest.
Well, so I thought the current rumor was that the vehicle that they're starting with to sell is the 350 mile.
350.
Yeah, that was the rumor an hour and a half ago.
So is that still what people are thinking, or is that
yeah, because
you know that's a bit surprising, because normally what I see with Tesla, and I've said it before, that Tesla does what you know, some people have just in time manufacturing. Tesla does just in time engineering. So they're really, like, you know, making changes up to the last moment. And so
in industry, we like to call this being agile.
Okay,
is that what it is? Is that why they're doing over-the-air updates to my car? Because they're being agile,
right? So they'll you know, they get their, you know, here's the product that they need to get out the door, right? So with the Model S, it was the 85 kilowatt hour pack Model S, right? And they designed for that car, and they were going to sell 85, a 60, and a 40, right? So they designed everything for that 85. Like, they have the pack, the suspension is tuned for all that that mass, and then okay, so now we have the 60. So there are fewer cells, so it's a little bit lighter. So what do we do? And then for a while, it was like, well, so what do we do about the 40? And there were rumors about, we may need to add you know, like ballast mass, because the suspension is designed to have all this mass low in the car. And ultimately what they did was they just never actually made a 40 kilowatt hour battery car. Those people that ordered got a 60, and 20 kilowatt hours was software locked out of the car, which made sense because they also made that vehicle undesirable, so people wouldn't buy it. Like they said, it can't supercharge for no good reason, you know. So they made that car less desirable. So they
how much range would that be with a 40? That'd be pretty small.
You know, that's a good question. Somebody, one of our producers actually has a 40, or their mom got a 40. So maybe you can tell us. But it was, I forget what it was. 40 was actually not bad in terms of getting around. And certainly you had, you know, on the order of, you know, over 100 miles of range anyway. So, you know, that's personally usable.
My father-in-law's got P85, I think. And it comes in at 220 miles. That's the range on the dash on the guessometer.
Right. So you can imagine that it's, you know, it's somewhere around half of that.
Yeah, they said 150-ish in chat.
Ish.
150-ish. Well, I mean, they're all ish, right? My Plaid is a 400-ish.
The thing is that it was a low. They were probably selling that one at a loss, right? And so that's why they didn't want to sell too many of it, because at that time Tesla had said that, this will be a $50,000 car, you know, which didn't last very long. So that's what the 40 did, and it fulfilled that usage. But what they did was they launched with the 85 kilowatt hour battery, and everything was designed for that. In fact, North American 85, because the charge connector didn't support 3-phase, what they needed in Europe. So anyway, to bring that to today now with the Cybertruck, you would think that they would be the first one out, would be whatever the highest margin vehicle is, the most expensive vehicle. So you would think it would be quad motor,
500
you know,
range.
500, you know, mile range. Now, the big change here is they talk about range as opposed to talking about the battery capacity. And the fact that they are starting with 350 miles tells me that the 500 isn't quite ready yet. That's what I would say.
It's possible, you know, so the Cybertruck's using the 4680 battery cells, right? And we already know that there were, you know, ramp production issues there. So it's maybe they want to get more cars out for revenue generation. They don't want to put that many batteries into the, you know, fewer cars, or yeah, there could be some other issues. It's also possible that they might be including some amount of towing or something. I doubt it, because it'll make the numbers look worse. But maybe the 350 is the 500. It's just, you know, scaled differently. But yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's the rumor, I guess. What are you hoping to get out of it, David? Like, what range do you need for your purposes?
You're talking about the Cybertruck, right? So
Yeah.
The 350 actually, I think makes a lot of sense to me. For example, look at the Model S, the long range versus the Plaid. The Plaid, I think they advertise for, is it 360 with the 19s?
With 19s, the Plaid is technically it was like 398 or something like that.
Oh, okay, so it's not much different. And it has
it's a 110 kilowatt pack in it.
Okay. So with the quad motor, I would imagine, I think it's going to be, I honestly think it's going to be more than that, more than 350, because that's going to be like the you know, top dog. You know, I think it's going to eclipse whatever's on the streets right now. You know, Rivian's doing a good job. I love Rivian. They did pretty good. I think it's going to eclipse that with the power and range. But I definitely think that the quad motor is going to be not nearly as much sold as the dual motor. Dual motor, I believe, is going to be pretty much like 85%.
I agree with you. I think it's a good guess. Like, I would agree.
And the dual motor will still be all-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, it's going to be all-wheel drive. It's going to have plenty of power for what you want to need to do. And with the range, I would imagine the dual motor, that's probably going to be the one with the around 350 range, if I was to guess. And then the single motor, that's going to be probably around maybe even under 300, if I was to guess, because it's a big car.
Well,
you know, it's a big truck.
It is. I'll be very interested to see what happens to your range when you start towing, because that seems
it's going to be. So I tried it with the Model Y. You cut your range
in half, right?
More than half, almost
ouch,
in 3 times.
That was a headline a few months ago with the Ford F-150 that, you know, their range cut in half towing, and it's just like, you know, those of us that didn't know, like, well, what do you expect? But you know,
gas mileage does that too. It's just you can fill up a lot faster than you can charge the car.
I don't know if you guys seen. So I tried to tow earlier before the Cyber Prius that I made. What I did was I took a rear-wheel drive Model 3 up to the mountains, completely killed the battery. I had, I think, 2 miles of range. And it was basically like, it's either I get this car towed out of here, or what I came up with is my buddy brought his old Camry and we put a strap to it and we pulled it to charge it, charge it. And it worked. That video is up on my YouTube, and you were gaining, I think it was 7.2 miles per every mile pulled, right? And then I was like, okay, what would happen if I did the same thing with a Tesla? Obviously, there's a lot of regen, you know, holding back with the Tesla.
Sure.
Because, you know, the one pedal driving, it's pretty much like you're pushing on the brakes. So I got a performance Model 3, and I was pulling it with a performance Model Y. And the amount of range that the Model Y was losing pulling the Model 3 was, I think it was about roughly 10 miles of battery in 1 mile. Imagine that. And you were gaining 7 miles on the on the Model 3. So I was thinking maybe we can just keep pulling each other and endlessly charge each other.
Petrol charging.
So
I'm not sure
the
that's
second
that way.
law of thermodynamics. Will have to say about that.
but Doug and I will just overlook that. We're both physics backgrounds. But no, I mean it's interesting to see though. It's like it's interesting to find out like what are the losses, what's the efficiency ratios of like doing those types of things. But yeah, you certainly won't net new energy, and it's definitely not a very
for sure
for an
for sure.
EV to pull another EV. Yeah, that's so are you're obviously, so backing up a bit. So you ordered the Cybertruck. You have obviously you're building the CyberRoadster. Are you expecting to get the Cybertruck before you finish the CyberRoadster? Or are you expecting to finish your build first?
I'm expecting to finish the build first.
Okay. So you're grounded in reality like the rest of us. No, I'm just teasing. So
I don't go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, we have to show the picture, right? Like, so Tesla, the big news, right, is Tesla officially finished the first production run, the first production Cybertruck.
There's the picture.
Big at Texas. There's the picture.
Except if you dig into it.
Well, no, it's pretty great. I think it's really cool if you look into see the sea of people. There's all these different expressions. There's the everyone's doing the. I guess they do this little angle thing. For,
the Cybertruck gang sign.
Cybertruck gang sign, which is it's kind of interesting throwing out. There is one woman in the crowd that this guy is great. He's laying down with a heart, an angled heart.
He loves the Cybertruck.
Striking a pose. He loves it. Lots of angled gang signs. And then there's the one woman there she is
just arms crossed.
Not impressed.
She's pissed off.
Unimpressed. I mean, well, you've got your manager that's like, hey, you got to go here. We're taking a photo, and you're like, I don't want to do that. But
somebody probably ate her lunch.
Yeah, someone ate her lunch. Maybe that's her Cybertruck, and she's mad that she can't drive it right now. Right? Everyone move.
Or she's probably mad about all those panel gaps that all these people are hiding.
Right.
A lot of people are actually talking about her
helmet. Is that a pink skull on her helmet?
I think it's maybe big skull with the Tesla symbol.
Something above that. Yeah. I don't know.
Everybody's got their little Tesla logo. She's added something right on top of it. Yeah.
She knows something.
I can't. Yeah,
too pixelated.
It's really blurry, but it
looks like a skull. I can see it.
It looks like a pink skull.
All right then.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, so I think that's exciting. We're finally going to see something coming out soon. I think my original prediction, we did predictions last year. I think it was like around September. So I'm hoping Tesla hits that, and then we'll see what happens. I did have one other question though before we move off Cybertruck. I had to ask because you mentioned you have kids, your wife. Did your wife know about the CyberRoadster project before you bought the salvage car, or did she find out when you dropped a salvage car?
Shows up in the driveway.
She knew about it. Yeah, she knew about it.
Oh, okay.
It's like I want to do this. I told her, and with all the crap that I've been doing, she kind of just took a deep breath and she's like, "I support what you're doing."
That's awesome. It's good to have a nice, healthy relationship there. That's awesome. Yeah. I was just curious because I know if I was gonna just drop this type of thing in our garage, my wife would go along with it, but she would just be like, "Really? Like, give me one of those. What are you doing?"
Yeah, little side eye there, like what?
Right on. So, all right. So I think we had we should cover a few questions. We had some folks in the during the segment going over the CyberRoadster. It looks like Chris Lemedico asked, will FSD or autopilot still work? I think you did cover that early on, but if you want to quickly answer.
Yeah, I'm working basically around that to have it work. Yes.
Yeah. So
we'll see what happens when it's done.
Yeah, David is doing his best to make sure that FSD works with it.
I mean, the big question is, I mean, you can probably get the sensors in a position where it'll kind of work, but will Tesla allow your car to
Oh.
download like the beta software.
You're going
that sort
into
of
a
thing.
dangerous territory, Doug. We don't need to cover that. That doesn't
I
matter.
do have it. This car has the beta at the
Oh, well,
moment.
then you're already there, right?
Yeah, but let's see how long they will allow it.
Yeah.
Let
You'll have, to, you'll have to calibrate his cameras and.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you add a camera to the front?
I was just going to ask that.
No, for example, the biggest difference was the side cameras, the pillar cameras.
The beef
And I
boys, yeah.
actually-
the bees.
Yeah. So and I tested that in one of my videos on one of my performance Model 3s. Took the cameras off and I lowered it to the exact height of where the CyberRoadster will have the cameras, and I recalibrated it and drove around, and it works. It works.
Wow.
So basically,
That's
you just
great.
have to recalibrate the cameras.
That's really
Let's
cool.
hear it for software.
So basically, at this point, it's from what I've tested, it's going to work.
Right on. So, okay. So it looks like Chris C also asked a question. It's not specific for the Roadster. He said, when do you expect the full functionality of Tesla headlights will be enabled? That's a great question. Unfortunately, it's a question for the U.S. government. It's not actually Tesla that's preventing the headlights from fully working. It's regulatory. So no cars are allowed to use the fancy features of matrix LED headlights in the U.S. So your guess is as good as anyone else's. Maybe in a year or two. I don't know. They seem slow to do things. But, yeah, I wish they would enable it. It'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a poll that came out on the Supercharger network. It was adding. Let's get with the actual question. Does Tesla need more superchargers? It says, will Tesla build up superchargers to accommodate anticipated demand from Ford, GM, Rivian, and who else adopting the NACS circa 2024, 2025? So basically, in the next 2 years, since all these other companies are going to come out with cars that work on the Tesla supercharging network, what are we thinking? Do we think Tesla's going to accelerate their the supercharging network growth? Doug, do you want to read the options here?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify. This is a poll that one of our users called Houstonian, which we assume he lives in Houston. He made a poll. Basically, after we've been talking about the growth and the dominoes falling of the dominance of Tesla's prescient or arrogant, called North American Charging Standard. I guess it's like a dream manifest to just name it and it will come, and that's what's happening.
No kidding.
The question is, we as existing Tesla users, how are we feeling about now that there'll be non-Teslas at the superchargers, and what does Tesla's response need to be to that? So, we had the question: will Tesla build up superchargers to accommodate anticipated demand from Ford, GM, Rivian, and whoever else adopting this NACS standard circa 2025? And so here are the options. It was like, nope, Tesla will not be able to meet demand, and will just do things as normal. No, Tesla will not meet demand even if they accelerate Tesla build out. Then there's a skeptical response. Tesla may be able to meet demand. So this is really highly granular in the responses possible to this poll. So Tesla may be able to meet demand, but will do the normal build out. Skeptical: Tesla may be able to meet demand, but will also accelerate the build out. And then there's optimistic: there's a good chance Tesla will make it with the normal build out, and another optimistic good chance Tesla will be able to make it by accelerating the build out. And then there's definitely yep, Tesla will be able to make it with the current rate, and yep, Tesla will be able to make it if they increase the build out. So there's a whole bunch of answers. I think what's clear though is that our users definitely think that Tesla will have to accelerate the build out, right? Because every one of those answers is one where Tesla is not just building at their current rate, they're going to have to accelerate their rate. And I would say the majority is in that optimistic group. They say definitely Tesla will have to accelerate their build out, and basically most likely there'll be enough.
Yeah, so it's 56% of people said basically they're optimistic or yes, they think it's going to happen.
Yeah. So I think the take home from this is that, you know, our site is majority Tesla owners, right? And you know, yeah, we're not upset really. You know, a lot of people
Optimistic.
Yeah, we're optimistic. Well, you know, just recently there was something on CNBC where, you know, you have these Tesla shorts, and they're basically trying to spin the spread of the NACS standard as a negative, right? That, oh, this is the worst for everything. Tesla won't make any money from it, and it will upset their customers. And also, you know, why buy a Tesla now since you know, any other car is going to have access to the Tesla network. So they're spinning every aspect as it is negative for Tesla owners, and thus negative for Tesla stock, right? Because they want to sell Tesla short. But the truth is that Tesla owners are pretty optimistic about it, and I think as a good for the world kind of thing, it is the better standard. And if you think about EV adoption in general, like a main point of confusion is, you know, when they get the car, even people renting EVs these days, where can I charge it? How do I charge it? You know, and I think Tesla, their influence will make it overall a better consumer experience, and that current Tesla owners are positive about this about this you know, this occurrence, and that we think, yes, Tesla will have to do more, but you know, it'll be a net positive for everybody, for us too, right? Even though we're sharing what used to be
definitely. If I can butt in, for example, anybody who has a non-Tesla EV, right? You go to these third-party chargers. I've went to them. There's a lot that are out of order, and there's a lot of, like, for example, videos on YouTube. A lot of people complaining about these. They're not maintained. Look at Tesla. They have, you know, a team that goes out there and fixes them, maintains them constantly, meaning they're superchargers. And the fact that they, you know, they're going to be, all these other EVs are adapting Tesla chargers. They definitely have a plan in mind. They're not going to just be like, okay, you guys can come charge, right? And go at their current rate. That's going to piss off some, you know, Tesla owners, especially the ones like in LA, for example. Those guys, you know, backed up a lot in the Bay Area. A lot of them are backed up. And I definitely believe they have a plan more than enough to accommodate for, you know, everybody who wants to charge. And I honestly believe that we just are getting started in this EV revolution, you know, and who better to do so supercharging wise than Tesla, because they've been on top of their game since day one. So definitely going in the right direction with that.
Yeah, related to this, I don't have it ready to pull up, but there was an image that came out of somewhere. I think it came out of the UK actually, of a supercharger that looked like it had possibly a card reader integrated.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
And that's one of the, I guess that's one of the requirements the government had for subsidies on these things. And not that I think that's necessarily the best route to go. I think that would be a positive thing, just if people don't have to download an app, because that's a barrier. And so if we can avoid that. And the other thing that I thought of, and that, you know, will be an issue, though I assume Ford and GM, all these companies that say they're going to have the Tesla connector by 2025, I assume that they're going to put their charge port in a spot that's compatible with the existing Tesla chargers, right? If they put it on the front right fender, which I think is the best place for it, actually, because you can do curbside charging without any trouble, and most people in the US pull nose in on a parking spot instead of backing in like we're forced to most of the time at the Tesla superchargers, that will probably alleviate that issue. But I was thinking about your CyberRoadster, how it's going to have to back in and maybe take two spots, and the current situation with the Magic Dock, like people with a Rivian, where their charge port's on the front left, they're having to park in the wrong spot. And so these are just kind of the growing pains we're going to have to deal with, you know, until that sort of standardization happens.
I think they'll fix themselves pretty quick. I would imagine. Sorry. Like for example, sorry.
It's all right.
It's all good.
You guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we hear you
Yep.
fine. Oh, your mic probably dropped
Something
out.
happened.
I mean, your headphones dropped out. Okay.
Yeah, it's headset.
Oh, he probably can't hear us, is the thing.
Correct. He cannot hear us.
I see.
We can
I was
hear
a little
you.
confused.
Okay. Back on. Where were we?
You're
Yeah,
talking
the
about the issues working themselves out in terms of the charging port. locations and stuff.
I definitely think that the all the other non-Tesla manufacturers, they're going to have to place their chargers definitely and in to be compatible with the current superchargers. It just that makes the most sense. So, I'm sorry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I personally have never had to wait or had any issues with a supercharger with how they're set up today. So
Well, you've never supercharged.
that's true.
But to give a short perspective, we've got a brand new supercharger that just went in 3 miles from the house. It's got 8 stations, 250 kilowatt, and it's up to a 20-minute wait time any day when power is cheap. So that's after 10 p.m. and it's before 8 a.m. in the morning. But if you go there just about any time, there's about a 15-minute wait because it's literally the only supercharger within 10 miles for a city called Yorba Linda. And so all the Tesla owners are going there. You get a Chevy Bolt showing up there, it's not going to be a happy place.
See, yeah, that's currently unacceptable because the amount of growing EV owners are definitely outgrowing the chargers at the moment. I think until we see as much superchargers as we do gas stations, we're going to have a little bit of issues. And
what makes it?
Go ahead.
I was going to say what makes it really tough. To your point about the other EV owners, there is an EV station 2 miles down the road with 5 stations, and I've been using this particular location for 2 years. And out of the 2 years of being there, it's been 50% or better broken every time I go there. So these poor guys are going to be showing up with the Tesla. I mean, they really don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, who better than Tesla because they do maintain their chargers like nobody else. The other ones, what is it? Electrify America. There was, I think it was Stradman. He was charging his Hummer EV. The guy couldn't make it home. If you watch his EV story, it's like 10 minutes long. It's ridiculous. Every charger that he went to, they were broken. And there was one charger that he said that was unavailable for like close to 7 months. It's like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of our members at Tesla Motors Club, and actually he was one of our early moderators back in 2006 or so. Tony Bedlin, he had a post where he said basically, those other charging networks, like their business model is getting government grants, right? So that's their business model, and right now the grants are for setting up the charging stations. They're not for maintaining.
Not actually running them.
Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's not so much of a financial incentive for them to maintain them. So you would hope that these grants would be like, okay, well the money is conditional on them having like a 90% plus uptime or something like that. Like even a 10% downtime is enough to piss off a lot of people. Though I would push back a little bit in terms of that we need. I don't think we need as many charging stations as gas stations. Lewis is an
Home
example.
charging.
Yeah, he's charging at home, and I do take a good number of trips, but that's the only time I really need to supercharge. And so, it's a little harder for folks in apartment buildings, but you would hope with new construction, those type of things will work themselves out in terms of having level 2, charging overnight or charging at work kind of things. And so hopefully we get more of that where, we're not needing to put the stress on our batteries of supercharging. We can just, charge slowly. And there are other benefits related to that with, sort of distributed load type things, timing the load to like reducing the charge rate when, all the air conditioners come on or something like that. I mean, that can be a net benefit to the grid if we can have a load that we can, change as needed.
Schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Or not just even schedule, but dynamically change based on what the requirements
But
are.
I would argue the point, Doug, a bit. Perhaps our household's a little on the outlier side right now, but we have 4 EVs in the house, 2 Teslas, a BMW, and the Pacifica. And you cannot charge all these cars at the same time, or even a reasonably close time, especially if the Teslas are down to 20%, 20, or less on a level 2 charger. And one of the issues that like we're facing in our neighborhood, while the house was built in 1995, so I wouldn't call it an old neighborhood, but the electricians do, because all new home service is like 200 amps and we have 100. And it's some ridiculous amount of money to put a 200 amp service in. So I have a single 50 amp circuit to charge all my cars on. It's not practical to charge all 4 cars at home.
Yeah. I mean, there are hardware, software.
There are, I've seen them. I've got a smart switch so I can split. Exactly, and there's the one that goes in just before the meter, which is supposed to be able to, charge, but that's kind of a hack.
Mm-hmm. So you're driving specifically to go charge a vehicle. How often?
Every day. Every day. At least one of the cars, generally 2 of the cars gets supercharged every single day. And I do it either early morning because it's 19 cents a kilowatt. I do it after 10 because it's 20 cents a kilowatt. If I charge at home, my best rate at home is 22 cents a kilowatt plus tax, plus delivery fee, plus service fees. So it's almost about 30 cents a kilowatt once you add in all the taxes. It's ridiculous. If I charge after 4 p.m., it's 47 cents a kilowatt plus all the extra fees. So, it makes no sense to charge at home in the afternoon here. 0.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, everybody has to do that sort of calculation.
Unlike Lewis, who's got dirt cheap electricity.
My electric's 12 cents a kilowatt, but I also have solar, so it's usually just free.
Yeah.
But you also have to factor in, your own personal time of going out of your way to charge a car. But of course, we've learned that you're willing to work for $250 an hour. So
that's right. Well,
I'm sorry, $240 an hour.
What was it? The other morning episode. I was texting you guys at 5:30 in the morning.
I'm like, what are you doing this early in the morning? I'm lying in bed. Like, why do I get this message?
I'm at the charger, man. What are you doing?
Saving your 20 cents a kilowatt.
I'm spending at Starbucks around the corner.
All righty. Well,
okay.
That's episode 46. David, it was so great to have you on. I learned a lot. Super impressed with what you're doing. I'm definitely going to be following it. Looking forward to seeing what happens.
Waiting for the wrap, man. I want to see this thing wrap.
Yeah, definitely. If you come on down to Austin, hit me up. Are there any specific? You mentioned a few like social media plugs or things you want to say. So like your Instagram, your YouTube. What are your handles? We'll have them in the description.
Okay. Instagram is the biggest one that I have. 390,000 followers right now.
Wow,
Twitter.
nice.
I could use some help on Twitter.
You use help on Twitter?
Yeah.
What's your Twitter handle?
It's
threads,
basically the same thing. It's Cyber Hooligan. Let me make sure.
Gotta make sure you got the right
underscore
handle.
Hooligan underscore.
Okay, Cyber underscore Hooligan underscore.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and it's like a black label with CH, kind of like the headlight line on the bottom, and then there's YouTube. Same thing, Cyber underscore Hooligan.
Awesome. And of course, we'll have all your links in the description and show info and all that kind of stuff. So again, thanks so much for coming. We have, as always, thank our viewers. Thank you for supporting us and coming and hanging out. Feel free to like and subscribe. Leave comments, whether they're hate or love. We appreciate it all. So feel free to hit us up. Thanks to our producers behind the scenes, folks, Adam and Danny. Seb will be back. Preferred member or supporting member on TeslaMotorsClub.com. Always helps out. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, David.
Yeah, thank you.